Hi, precious souls. I'm out in the woods. Isn't it beautiful? I'll show you. It's one of my favorite places to come. It's on a beautiful lake. It's not too far from where I stay. I wanted to get on here because someone had asked me a while back about if light and dark are the same, then you can't have light without dark, and without dark you can't have light. Does that mean that God has got dark? And this morning I woke up and Source gave me the answer, so I wrote it down and I'll read some of it, but I know some of it as well from memory. But basically, yes, that Source does have dark and light, because without light you have to have dark. But it's not comprehended in the way that we understand it. We've been programmed to understand dark as evil, but it's really not. It's a contrast. It's, I'll read. But in a way that's uncomprehended by humans, for most humans are taught that dark is evil. But in fact, most of our creative abilities come from dark energy. The example is the hammer. How do you choose to use it? To build a house or hit someone in the head to kill them? Darkness is like sandpaper that grates against us to make something smooth and even. If you resist it, it is painful. If you go with the flow, no matter how painful it is, you will come out stronger, elevated, and aligned. Everything that happens in our life is for our greater good if we're aligned and rejoicing in spite of the uncomfortableness. When karma is worked out, more light comes into your reality. The more you fight darkness, the more you empower it. You give it strength because you give it attention with your consciousness, allowing it to stay alive. This is where not caring comes in. You have to not allow ego to control whether it is fair or not. You just have to just not care. Nothing is more important than your joy. It's the dark negative forces that holds the particles together. It is what stops our hand from going through a wall or through a chair. It's the negative forces that holds the atoms together. It's the illusion. It's gravity. For example, like a railway tracks and a train. You know, it's a wonderful thing. It carries people to and from. But if you put a car on it, or if you lay on it and get hit by it, it causes destruction. It's a negative force, but it's used for good. It can be used for good, or it can be used for evil. And it's all over. You can't get rid of it. It's all over. It's around us everywhere. So you have to just remember how to use this force and not go against it. To know that it can be used to create. It's the creative force in our world. Without it, we wouldn't be able to do all that we do. I wanted to speak about that because I know a lot of people get confused, and there's nothing to be afraid of. You just have to be aware of what it is and the power that stands behind it. And like I said, if you grate against it, then you will give it attention in a negative way, and instead of flowing with it. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and you have to learn the lesson behind it. I know life doesn't always hand us good things, but there's always something to learn behind all that is taught to us. And we can either grow out of it, or we can get stagnant and complain and get pulled down further and further into a depression. I don't want to stay too long on the topic, but yes, I guess you would say that source is dark as well as light, because you can't have light without dark. How would you know that it's light out if you didn't have the shadows, like in here, like the shadows that are on me? It gives contrast. The other thing I wanted to speak about was drugs and pharmaceutical diet as we go into this thing. Because we're organic matter, it's best to eat organic food, eat simple foods. Our bodies easily breaks food down that way. If you eat the chemicals, your bodies really don't know what to do with chemicals. You eat processed food with dye number 33 or yellow dye or red dye or whatever. Even sugar, it doesn't know what to do with it. They say that sugar is one of the main culprits for cancer, white sugar. Not that all sugar is bad. I think honey and stevia, there's a bunch of natural sugar out there that is good to eat, that will break down in your body pretty easy. But try to eat as organic as possible. I know it can get expensive, but if not, just at least eat fruits and vegetables, your rice and pasta. As far as meat goes, if you have to eat meat and you desire to eat meat, eat organic meat. Don't eat the stuff that's pumped up with antibiotics and all kinds of hormones and stuff. It really messes you up. Eat as simple as possible. Your meats. Eat as clean as possible. It'll help you as the energies increase on Earth and things are shifting and changing. It'll be better for you. You won't feel so sick. As far as what's better for you, vegan, I have a lot of vegan friends that get really upset at me about, people that eat meat, and I asked Source about it, and Source says basically you need to go to back to your Akashic records and go to find out what your DNA breaks down to be, because everybody's going to be different. Some people need meat, and some people don't. It just depends. It depends on your body makeup. I think people need to do what their body's telling them to do, and that's part of your journey of getting to know who you are and what your body's calling for. Some people need it. I ate meat. I was a vegetarian when I was 13, and then when I married my late husband, who was my third husband, he would hunt. But the way that he hunted is he would do it the way the Indians did it. He would go and thank it, and he would harvest and basically do all his own processing. He did it all natural, and he did it with a ritual. So I don't think I didn't know what to do with the meat. Actually, when I first married him, I opened the refrigerator up and it had all this stuff in it. It had snakes and it had all kinds of weird stuff, and I was like a vegetarian. I had to learn how to cook the stuff. So basically, after he passed away, I've gone back to my vegetarianism. I feel better as a vegetarian. I do like fish, mostly raw fish I like, but I like fish, and I like vegetables, any kind of your carbs, your rice and pastas and quinoa. But I try to stay away from dairy as much as I can, but I do like my dairy. I like goat cheese. And I've tried to be a vegan. I lean towards veganism as much as possible. And I think as I'm elevating, it's easier. But in the beginning, it was really hard. I would just get dizzy and sick and just didn't feel like I was getting enough. So I just listened to my body. I mean, it was really hard for me to wean off of meat at first. And I didn't push myself. I just basically just ate what I felt like I wanted. And I didn't fight my body. And it kind of just told me, you know, what it wanted, and I basically followed it. So now my diet's pretty simple. Um, as far as drinking goes, I think drinking is another thing. I think anything you really do is up to you. That's part of your journey and part of you finding out who you are and where you are in your journey. Everybody's different. We're all going to be in different places, and I don't think we all need to be doing the same thing. That's what makes life so beautiful, is our variety, you know? So that's why it's not good to just constantly be looking on the outside for answers. You need to look on the inside of your own self for your own answers and follow that, because that will be right for you. Um, drugs and pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals, all pharmaceuticals derivative comes from nature. All your drugs that they give you and sell you, all they are souped up natural drugs with steroids. They're just, if we ate right and we took care of our health, we wouldn't be sick. And the natural remedies that nature, Mother Gaia, provides us would be enough to keep us well. But because we insist on eating junk food and food with dyes in it that we don't know how to break, our body just doesn't know what to do with it. It just doesn't. It looks at it, when we eat it and consume it, it breaks it down. It's like, well, where does this go? Because we're organic matter. This avatar that's been given to us goes back to dust, goes back to sand, and basically it doesn't know what to do with these chemicals, and so it gets stuck in places, and that's where things go wrong, and that's where we get sick. So if you can eat as simple as possible and as organic as possible, that's going to benefit you. But as far as drugs go, for me, there's not, it says in the Bible that every bear-seeding tree and root was for our benefit. And they've outlawed it. They've outlawed all these things, saying it's ridiculous, and you need Xanax and you need this pill and you need that pill, and they give you so many pills going against pills that don't even work together, that makes people sick. I had an aunt that she ended up dying from the drugs they gave her. They gave her so many drugs, and there were drugs we found out that didn't work together, that really made her sick. She blew up like a balloon, and just started holding water, and basically it crushed her heart, and she died. And it was from over medicating her. As far as weed goes, for me, weed is medicine. There's the heavier drugs like ayahuasca and DMT and mushrooms, all that. I think those are really good if you're wanting to go within and really do some serious inward traveling. But I highly suggest that you do it in a ritualistic way where you really are prepared, because it's not just, I don't think, for me, they're just not recreational. You just don't do them and then go to a party. You could, I guess it's really up to you. But basically, they're really for mind altering to discover things within you, to discover things within your higher self. But as far as weed goes, I mean, it makes you calm. Gives you a perspective. For me, smoking cannabis is like taking an aspirin for a headache. I don't ever look at it as something that is, uh, you know, something addictive. In fact, I've gone through periods of not smoking and periods where I have smoked. But basically, I kind of just follow my body. Like, I haven't smoked for about 3 months now, but I used to smoke a lot, and it just kind of, whatever's happening, I just kind of go with the flow. I can have it or not have it. I like it. I prefer to have some always on hand because it's like an aspirin for me. But as far as alcohol goes, I don't do any alcohol at all. I basically feel like alcohol kills your brain cells, and people, it really, it doesn't, it just kind of numbs you, that's just my perspective on it. But hey, as far as when you start the journey to just to self-soothe, do what you got to do, because in the beginning it's really difficult. When you start to really go in and discover a lot of things we've been taught have been lies, a lot of things we've been programmed, how everything's shifting. It can be, especially for newbies, people that are just waking up, it can be really difficult and make you feel a little psychotic sometimes, that, is this real, is it not real, that kind of thing. But I feel like the most important thing is to follow your own heart. I think people can really go into some mental problems, like, mental issues, especially if they're already a little unstable and they start to waken up. That's why I think to self-soothe is very important, that if you just numb yourself, get some counseling. There's some great 5D counselors out there that'll help you just, if you go to a regular counselor, they're going to just take your money, and every month, every week, whatever, just keep taking your money, and they really don't have the deeper answers that you need. And if you go to a 5D specialist, they can definitely do some energy healing and work with you on some particulars, issues that you might be going through. Or just go within and meditate and go to source. That's what I did. I didn't really go to any counseling. I think I did a little bit of counseling, or watched some counseling online with some beautiful souls that really knew what they were doing. But gave me some good insight. But I think we're strong enough to do it on our own. But not everybody. Some people might be a little bit needing more assistance, and it doesn't mean you're weaker or not. It's just how our body's made up, how our minds are, our DNA, basically. So the main thing is to just be strong and realize that you're more powerful than you know. As far as DMT and mushrooms and that kind of thing goes, those kind of drugs, for me, I like to do them and go into the woods, or I like to do them and really go within and take my journey inside. I don't think I've ever done anything that heavy and gone to a party, and that's just my personal take. Acid is really not natural. Mescaline, that kind of stuff, they're really not natural drugs. But they will take you on trips as well. So it just depends on what you have access to and what you want to do. But you don't need it. It's not something you have to do. It's not something that's required for real. But I know a lot of you are kind of from that 60s era that, are open to the idea of possibly expanding your consciousness through the use of drugs. The reason why I did DMT was I knew there was a door. I knew there was a door, and I couldn't find it through my meditation. And so I did some up in the mountains in Israel after Yom Kippur. In fact, I did fasted, and then right after the fast, I hadn't eaten or anything. It was probably not the smart thing to do. But I was in prayer pretty much all through Yom Kippur, and I did the DMT outside, and boy, I found the door. And so now when I meditate, I actually know where I'm going because it showed me where to go. And that's what I wanted for. So usually, like, before you do anything like that, ask it. It's a spirit. So ask it what you're looking for before you take it, and it'll show you the way. They're spirits, is all they are, that will open areas in your life where you need to go. But like I said, I haven't done it since then. It was like all I wanted was, where's the door at? I know it's here and I can't find it. And I go into some deep meditations, and I couldn't find it. I was like, I was so close I could almost taste it, and it really kicked me over the edge and showed me, where to go. So now when I meditate, I know exactly where I'm going. I go in deep. So that's just my feedback. But the main thing is to find your own way. It's so easy to get on and look for someone to tell you all the answers, but only you have your own answer. Only you know what's right for you. I can just share what I've gone through and my experience that could possibly help others. And that's why I feel like I need to get on here and just share what I've gone through. But it might not be for everybody, and that's okay. The main thing is, like I said, is to follow your own still small voice within you. The energy is going to get heavier this next year as we go in. We've got another eclipse coming in November. A lot of changes are happening in the cosmic realm, and you're going to be feeling it on planet Earth as New Earth is developing and growing. Source has got a plan for a new system being put into place, which is going to be amazing. As far as I believe we can govern ourselves. I don't think we're ignorant. I think we know how to run and govern ourselves, especially as we grow and we start expanding into a relationship with our source. Source will be there and guide us. It's going to be beautiful, and it's the way it was in the beginning. It's going back to the garden, as crazy as it sounds, but it's what it wants. We've gotten so far away from it, and it's just like what I said earlier about, I guess if you want to go back to the theology that we've been taught about, the tree of good and evil, we took a bite of that apple, and we know too much now. We were told not to take that bite. We were told not to eat from that tree. And free will, we chose to. And what happened is now we know too much. Now you can't undo that knowledge. It's like in the beginning, we didn't know how to read or write. We didn't do any of that. And when we first started learning, it was considered the occult. And then what happened was we started calculating numbers, and that's when greed set in. You know, that's where you come in with these inflations and all these different calculations that are just twisted. When in the beginning everything was just provided so simple. We didn't have the varieties of these percentages and who's getting more than who. We all had plenty and it was all equal. And that's what Source wants to get us back to. That'll bring us out of wars. That'll bring us out of this unevenness of who has more than who. Many of the ones that have been denied for so long will be given back what they've lost. Just stay aligned and stay plugged in to your own heart, to your source within, whatever you call it, whatever you want to label it. I say source because it makes it universal and includes everybody. But if you call it Allah, or if you call it Buddha or Krishna, or if you call it God, whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it Jesus, it's all one in the same energy, as long as love is the basis. Love is the basis, is what will pull this thing through. And it's going to be a transition. We're not used to it. We're not used to giving space and forgiving one another. And it is what will be required of us. That's why to work on yourself is going to be the most important thing, because as long as you're pointing fingers and you're looking to the outside of yourself and still holding on to fear and lack, you'll always be in this chaotic dissension of who has more than who. So basically, that's pretty much all I have to say for now. I wanted to do this. I love taking a walk. It's the day of Samhain. At the dusk, Samhain sets in, and it's a beautiful time of the year, you know, harvest coming in. Don't fret, my loves. Don't fear, okay? Trust the love in your heart, and know you're going to be fine, especially for you newbies that are coming in. It's an exciting time for all of us to be here, walking into this magical time, watching Source do these things. You know, it's not somebody out here doing hocus pocus, you know, that kind of magic. It's not somebody doing magic. We are magic. That's once you plug into your alignment with truth, your alignment with love, you are magic. And things happen. Good things will happen in your life. I love you all very much. Be safe and be at peace. Aho.